The Hawk and the Dove, Paul Nitze, George Kennan, and the History of the Cold War, by Nicholas Thompson. Narrated by Michael Prichard. Copyright 2009 by Nicholas Thompson. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Henry Holt and Company, LLC, and was produced in the year 2009 by Tantor Media, Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. Prologue. On February 17, 1984, Paul Nitze decided that the arms race could wait. For the past 2.5 years, he had led the negotiations between the United States and the Soviet Union. But on this day, he left that grave work in the early afternoon to dress in black tie and hop on a train to Princeton, New Jersey. He was heading north to attend the 80th birthday party of a man who was both a close friend and a bitter rival, George Kennan. Nitze had been Kennan's deputy on the State Department's policy planning staff in the late 1940s, and the two had worked together on some of the most important issues the country ever faced. They tried to reverse the partition of Germany. They helped write the Marshall Plan. They advised Harry Truman on whether to build a hydrogen bomb. And then, for 35 years, they had disagreed profoundly on the direction the country should take. Even at this moment, each believed that the other's desired policies could lead the United States to the ultimate catastrophe. Nitze arrived just in time to join the 60 other friends, colleagues, children, and grandchildren at the celebration. After dinner ended, he stood up slowly and raised his glass to give a toast. "Among those born after 1904, I know of no one who has been more fortunate in his bosses than have I," he said. He then listed a series of remarkable mentors and what he had learned from each of them. Soon he turned to the real center of attention, the taller, thinner, balder man celebrating his birthday. Kennan had just published a long article in the New Yorker and was hard at work on his 17th book, this one about the Franco-Russian alliance of 1894. An immensely complicated individual, he was revered both as one of the men who had started the Cold War and as the one most determined to end it. Nitze continued gracefully. "George Kennan taught us to approach the issues of policy, not just from the narrow immediate interest of the United States, but from a longer-range viewpoint that included the cultures and interests of others, including our opponents, and a proper regard for the opinions of mankind. George has, no doubt, often doubted the aptness of his pupil, but the warmth of his and Annalise's friendship for Phyllis and for me has never faltered," said Nitze, referring to his and Kennan's wives. "I extend my appreciation, gratitude, and thanks to George, who has been a teacher and an example for close to 40 years. The guests clinked their glasses and cheered. It was one of the tensest periods of the arms race. Just 3 months ago, Nitze's arms talks had collapsed in a way that many people thought might invite war. 1 week ago, the KGB veteran who had been running the Soviet Union had died. But this was a moment for two old friends, not for the quiet but ever-present terror that colored these years. Kennan rose to respond. The main lesson he had learned from Nitze, he said, was that when one disagreed with government, it may be best to soldier on, and to do what one can to make the things you believe in come out right. That evening, another guest asked Nitze how he and Kennan had remained friends, despite their vast differences on issues of national security. Nitze smiled and responded that he had never had any difference with George, except over matters of substance. Paul Nitze and George Kennan were the only two people to be deeply involved in American foreign policy from the outset of the Cold War until its end. They had come to prominence in the tumultuous days that followed the Second World War, when Germany was divided and the Soviet Union turned from ally into enemy. They immersed themselves in the great questions and events to come. The Marshall
Sample complete. Ready to continue?